you brought up COVID. I think it's unavoidable to not talk about that right now. I know my family, my parents are stir crazy, and they're now allowing some of the grandkids into the house. And I'm, not quite sure whether it's the right thing or not. My grandson, my daughter invited us down to see their new place, and I'm dying to hug my grandson. One of the things, I think when we talk about those younger generations, that going through COVID and what we're dealing with right now might be a really good time to talk about the family's stories. And there have been other struggles. This is not the only one for us. This is different, but it's, anybody that's been in business for a while, this is a great time to solidify what's going on and passing on that story. What are some methods that you've utilized in passing the story, and how important is it to do that right now, especially with the younger generations that might not even be in the business?
Yeah, there's great research about sort of emotional health and resilience in the younger generations that comes from family stories, specifically telling stories of where things went well, and also telling stories of sort of hardship and difficulty. If you just talk about the stories when things went well, the rising generation thinks it was easy. If you only talk about the things that went awry, they think it's impossible. But there's really interesting research that shows that when you tell these stories over time of the ups and downs, of the things that went well and the things that didn't go well, it really gives a sense of resilience and emotional health and self-esteem to the next generation. There's also an article, I can send it to you, Mike, if you want to send it to people. It was in the New York Times about these researchers, the same researchers, and they came up with something called it's 20 questions or something like that, but they came up with 20 questions that you can ask somebody in a family. Where did your grandparents meet? What was your father's first job? Things like that. And the more of those 20 questions that a child can answer, the more that they know, it's one of the best predictors of happiness. And the theory is, when you really understand your family, you feel like you've got a whole team behind you, and you understand the family, you feel like you're part of it. And it's not just sort of fun stories. It actually is like a structure supporting the rising generation as they grow up. And it's really pretty interesting. So now's a great time, especially if you have time on your hands, to be able to share those stories with the younger generation, with a business or without.
Great.
Well, I would just add two things. One is that I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. He's also a family business consultant, and he was predicting, and I agree with him, there's going to be a lot of people joining their family business who have lost employment elsewhere and need a place to go. I also think that there's going to be a lot of people quitting their family business. My son-in-law is a lawyer, and was saying that there's a lot of inquiries into divorce already, and the divorce rate skyrocketed in China after a couple of months of this. The other thing is, in terms of your values and looking back, I went to a workshop by this guy, Ari Weinswag, who owns a Jewish deli in Michigan, Zingerman's. That's like the place to go. That's where Obama ate when he was in Ann Arbor. And he does an exercise where, like, it's 10 years in the future, and you just woke up, and every morning you write in your diary and just write the state of affairs. So you're not looking in 10 years into the future and guessing. You are 10 years in the future, and you're writing down what you're doing. And I think that's a good one, like even going 10 years in the future and then remembering this time after it's done, after you are recovered, etc. And also to go with that is, he made you write it with your opposite hand and not lift the pen off the paper. Hot pen, it's called. And it really got me a lot more in touch with, like, I looked at that and it was like, this is where I want to aim 10 years from now.
Interesting. That's great. I like that exercise, because it really does, Jeff and you and I were in a situation we were talking about saying, what do you want this situation to look like 2 or 3 years from now?
Yeah.
Not that they would have done that exercise, but that's a great one. Thanks, Ira.